This is the most disturbing photograph in Mount Everest's recent history. Just hours after this photo was taken, this man disappeared near the Hillary Step, which is only a short distance below the summit. A fall from the Hillary Step has the danger of a 3,000 meter, 10,000 feet drop on one side and a 2,400 meter or 8,000 foot drop on the other. 2023 will go down as one of the most deadly seasons in the history of Mount Everest. There were 17 deaths on the mountain, 18 overall attributed with climbing Mount Everest in one season alone. And one of the most unbelievable was a climber that very few people could have ever anticipated a tragedy befalling. This is the story of Szilárd Suhajda, a Hungarian mountaineer, married and father of one, who was endeavoring to climb Mount Everest without the use of any bottled oxygen or any support whatsoever. At the end of the video, I'm going to share my thoughts about Szilárd Suhajda's oxygenless attempt on Mount Everest, so make sure you stick around for that. If you're a fan of mountaineering epics, mountaineering tragedies, world record firsts, and great stories from the highest mountains in the world, you've come to the right channel. So take a moment to hit that subscribe button and slam on the bell so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. Now let's get to the story of one of the most disturbing photos in Mount Everest history. This photo of Szilárd Suhajda was taken at an area referred to as the balcony, which is used as a brief rest stop for climbers on their way to and from the summit at 8,400 meters or about 27,500 feet. Climbers on their way to the summit will oftentimes stop there and switch out an oxygen bottle for a full oxygen bottle, and then also take a snack or maybe have a drink of water before heading up to the summit, which is in most cases only a couple of hours away. But for Szilárd, he wasn't using bottled oxygen. He was there to go unaccompanied, no Sherpa support, no team, all alone, a solo climber on Mount Everest, on the most dangerous mountain one could possibly hope to climb without the use of bottled oxygen. He set up his own camps, cooked his own food, melted his own water. It was a one-man show. To give you an idea of just how difficult it is to climb Mount Everest without the use of bottled oxygen, as of 2021, only 216 individuals had actually done so. But the numbers from there are mind-blowing because not all of them have good endings. Digging deep into the data that's been unearthed by Everest historian Alan Arnett, in 2021, he found that of the 305 deaths up to that time on Mount Everest, since people have been trying to climb it, 167 of those were individuals without bottled oxygen. And in a survey of modern mountaineering from 1990 to 2021, 133 team members, not Sherpas, had summited without supplemental oxygen. And of those 133, 39 of those individuals died. That's a staggering number, 30%. And when you compare that with those of people using bottled oxygen, the number of deaths to summit ratio is 2.5%. So climbing without oxygen is a dangerous deed indeed. Anyone endeavoring to do so is taking great risk. So as you can see, if you are not allowed to use bottled oxygen when climbing Mount Everest, it would be a very quiet mountain, and many people would argue that would only be a good thing. Szilárd was said to be no ordinary guy, constantly pushing the boundaries of human potential. In 2014, Szilárd climbed Broad Peak. 5 years later, he became the first and only Hungarian to climb the 8,611 meter K2. And in 2022, he reached another milestone, successfully summiting Lhotse, the fourth highest mountain in the world. All of this without the aid of supplemental oxygen or high altitude porters. Szilárd was married and a father of one, very popular in his home country of Hungary, endeavoring to write a book. It's safe to say that Szilárd was an experienced mountaineer who had every right to go after Everest the way he was going about it. As a one-man show, even with oxygen. A climber is taking a huge risk going up into the area that's known as the death zone at about 8,000 meters or 26,000 feet, where living and dying is very tentative. Sometimes just losing a glove or losing your glacier glasses is enough to kill you because you can't see, or you lose the use of your hand. Szilard, being up there all alone, without oxygen, no Sherpa support, did not have a climbing partner beside him to judge whether perhaps he was not thinking straight, developing pulmonary edema or cerebral edema. Having a climbing partner with you can be one of the great assistances on an expedition like this, because if you're going along that way and getting sick, sometimes you're the last person who would ever know it. So you need your friend, somebody you trust, to look you in the eye and say, turn the F around, you are done, it is not happening this time. Szilard did not have a person like that with him and was making all his own decisions at the time. As I've spoken about many times on this channel, Everest has become much more of a tourist mountain in the more recent years. Individuals will pay anywhere from $35,000 at the low end of the scale up to $60,000. Some even pay over $100,000 for the opportunity to climb Mount Everest. Those are for one-on-one guides living in luxurious tents, even having a masseuse on call where one can have their muscles rubbed out after a rotation up the mountain. The onslaught of people crowding to Mount Everest rests in the hands of expedition companies selling the idea that they can get even the most inexperienced person up to the top of the mountain. Put everything in our hands and we'll take you up, we'll train you, and then we'll bring you up to the mountain and bring you back safely to your family. But the realistic truth is that if you get in trouble up in the death zone, unless you are very fortunate and are with a talented team and a strong team of other climbers, there is a very good likelihood that you're going to be abandoned up on the mountain and die up there. 2023 was no different, where many of the climbers were climbing on low-budget expeditions. I have a huge amount of respect for people who endeavor to climb Mount Everest without oxygen. It is an excruciating process. Who knows how many brain cells one loses up there. And for me personally, when I had children, my first child was born in 1997, I made the decision that I would never try to climb Everest without oxygen, even though I had always dreamed of doing so. For whatever it's worth, I'm sure I've killed plenty of brain cells even with bottled oxygen. Szilard had prepared accordingly for his summit push by rotating up the mountain, bringing equipment up, setting up his camps, then returning back to base camp to rest and recuperate. And that's very typical of climbers, to go up the mountain, allow the bodies to touch higher and higher altitudes, then retreat back down the mountain, rest, recuperate, eat, drink tons of water. Sometimes people will do 2, in some circumstances even 3 rotations before going for their summit push. By rotating up the mountain and then back down, it allows the climber's body to adjust to higher altitudes, to acclimatize. And what happens in the body, physiologically speaking, is that a great number of red blood cells are being produced, thus giving the body to bring more oxygen to the brain and the other vital parts of the body. What also happens at this time is the blood gets thicker, so hydration is extremely important at altitude. It is not uncommon for climbers to get blood clots and lose their lives because of this. There's no way for a climber to truly acclimatize for climbing in the death zone, where the oxygen levels are 1/3 the amount than is found at sea level. Szilard had rotated up several times and now on May 21st was ready to move his way up the mountain for his final summit push without oxygen. Under the cover of darkness on May 24th, Szilard set forth, heading up what they call the triangular face of Mount Everest. At 7:30 on the 24th of May, the final hours of Szilard's life unfolded with only scant information in this heartbreaking photo taken by Ben Ferrer. He was a member of the 7 Summit Climbs team returning from the summit, and he met Szilard seated at the balcony. Ferrer snapped the photo, but he never imagined that that photo was to be the last photographic record ever taken of Szilárd Suhajda. Ferrer told Explorer's Web, he asked the altitude of the balcony. He seemed pretty tired, so I incorrectly assumed he was letting his team know his turnaround point or altitude. And then he asked him how he was doing, and Szilárd replied, okay. Eventually, Szilárd stood up and continued up toward the summit. And 6 hours after crossing paths with Ben, Szilárd crossed paths with multiple-time summiter and filmmaker Ilya Saikali. Saikali reports that Szilárd was above the balcony, but not much further up. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't respond, said Saikali. He just kept going up, very slowly, but steadily upwards, a determined man cut from a different cloth. From the South Summit, Szilárd would have had to follow the knife-edge southeast ridge along what they call the Corniced Traverse, where snow clings to intermittent rock. You can understand this would be a very perilous section, especially for a climber not using bottled oxygen. And then at the end of this traverse, climbers are confronted with the famous area on Mount Everest known as the Hillary Step. Strikingly, Szilard's GPS tracker put him right at the Hillary Step at 8,750 meters, the last time that it actually pinged home. Certainly family and friends held their collective breath, hoping for his safety, wondering how he was doing on this perilous climb. Then the tension heightened as a team from Imagine Nepal was descending early the following morning, who noticed Szilárd, who was off the fixed ropes near the Hillary Step. Possibilities of frostbite and high-altitude pulmonary or cerebral edema must have been a concern of his team in base camp and at home. Without any bottled oxygen as an emergency backup, this must have been a devastatingly upsetting time for those on Szilard's team. And later that day, a strong Sherpa team of Gelje Sherpa and Mikkel Sherpa embarked on a mission to locate Szilárd. It was certainly a race against time. Sadly, the search ended in heartbreak. There was no sign of Szilárd at the Hillary Step. He was nowhere to be seen, presumed to have fallen from the cliff. Reflecting on the tragedy of Szilárd Suhajda, his legacy is a reminder of the boundless human spirit that endeavors to push the limits of possibility. In his native Hungary, Szilárd was popular and beloved in the process of writing a book about his mountaineering career. His wife, Timmy, says that she will help complete the book that Szilárd was writing, to write about his charismatic and inspiring career, hoping that his passions might inspire others to dream, to push the limits, to go after their own interests and desires. The story of Szilárd Suhajda resonates really deeply with me. It's a guy that I could picture myself being friends with on a Mount Everest expedition or an expedition to an 8,000 meter peak. I get the fact that he's a father, and a lot of the people will come out of the woodwork to say, how could that person be so selfish to go climb a mountain, Mount Everest, especially without the use of bottled oxygen, and even being a one-man show without a team to support him. But what many people don't understand is what motivates a mountaineer. It's almost impossible to put it into words, but something about going higher and going to the ultimate limit of what we are capable of doing drives us. We think about it day in and day out. Szilárd was a different breed altogether. It is very unfortunate that he lost his life. I send my regards to his family and friends, especially his wife and child, who will forever miss him. Hopefully the book that is written about his life will be seen by many. He's an inspirational individual, and as I said, it resonated deeply with my life and the life of many friends of mine who I've climbed with over the years. So why is this the most disturbing photograph taken in recent Everest history? Show me any photo of an individual who has clearly lost his way hours before he perishes, and that would constitute a disturbing photograph. on Everest this year. 2023 certainly goes down as one of the most devastating years in Everest history. The story of Szilard Suhajda represents to me that even old school, pure mountaineers can lose their way in the mountains. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please hit that subscribe button and click on the bell button so you'll be notified every time a new video comes out. And check out the members section. Click on that join button. For 99 cents a month, you can get exclusive content that I post and some messages to members only. And for the next level up, monthly, I'll be doing live Zoom chats with members only, where you can join in and ask anything you want about Mount Everest and beyond. It's worth checking out. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Do a good deed, take care of each other, and I'll see you next time.